Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. I'm excited to share some of the information that we have here today and also hopefully clear up any confusion that might be out there about the new model with BedandBreakfast.com, share some updates on RezOvation. And also, I put in some recently updated trends and information about a lot of the things that we've been working on in general at BedandBreakfast.com. So I know we've got an hour here today, and I'm going to try and stick exactly to that because I understand that all of you are very busy at your properties and want to make sure we can get everything covered in that time frame. So if you have any questions during the webinar, please feel free to use the question box that's there on your screen. I will be trying to look at questions as I go through. I will save some time at the end to go through some Q&A. And also, of course, you'll have my direct contact information. So if there's something you want to chat about after the webinar, we can certainly do that as well. Everyone is on mute today, so you will need to use the question box to chime in. Also, I wanted to let you know that this is being recorded, so I'll share a recording of it after the session's over. And also I included a PDF of all of the slides that you'll see in your handout section there as well. So hopefully you've got everything you need for us to get started. And I am going to move forward. So for those of you that I haven't had the pleasure of meeting along the way and over the years, my name is Janice Hurley. I've been with BedandBreakfast.com since 2002, which means I have seen a lot of different things in the company over the years. I was part of the team when we originally released our reviews program and when we connected to Expedia back in 2006, and really all the ebbs and flows and all of the changes that we've gone through as a business. I've been there for the majority of them. So for those of you who've been members for a long time, I just want to acknowledge that. And also I want to share that I understand that change is hard. And, it's never easy when you've been working, the same way for so many years to make changes in the way that you're working with your marketing channels. But I'm hoping today I can help shed some light on, reasons for some of the changes and really some of the really positive aspects of where we're headed as an industry. In 2012, I did have the honor and opportunity to go and run the Inn at the Round Barn Farm up in Vermont. So I had always wanted to be an innkeeper and finally had that opportunity from 2012 to 2014. And after the inn sold in 2014, I had the opportunity to come back to BedandBreakfast.com as the head of industry relations. So it's been fantastic to be able to see the industry not only from this vendor side of it, but also from being in your shoes and being at the Round Barn and understanding the challenges, running an inn, and really being able to bring back that knowledge into the business. So part of what I wanted to start with today and just highlight for everyone is that the changes in the model for BedandBreakfast.com and going from what has traditionally been a B&B directory that we started over 22 years ago and going towards more of an OTA style website, which means we're going to bring you real-time reservations as opposed to just sending traffic to your website or sending inquiries to you. A couple of things that I wanted to mention is that, our mission from when we started all those years ago has been consistent. And our mission as a business has always been to bring reservations for B&Bs and inns in our particular niche market in the travel industry. And when BedandBreakfast.com first started all those years ago, it really was started off of the concept of there was no place to find B&Bs on the internet back at that time. And Sandy Soul had written guidebooks. Sandy Soul was my mentor for many years and still is. She actually wrote the first guidebooks for B&Bs, and BedandBreakfast.com came to be because we essentially took those handwritten books and put them in an online format. And connecting B&B travelers with the inns and B&Bs and bringing reservations to the properties, doing it the easiest way possible and the most cost effective. And part of what I think is important for everyone to understand, especially all of our member properties, is that a challenge that we have as a business bringing reservations to properties is that innkeepers have historically been taking reservations at many different levels. This is actually a real photo from a conference that I just recently attended of an innkeeper when, after the conference was over and we were all going to dinner, she asked me if I had a pen and was promptly taking a reservation, still in a handwritten notebook, and I couldn't have timed it any better on top of a trash can. And so we deal with all types of properties, all different sizes, different levels of understanding. So it's really our job and our role as an industry leader to continue to push forward and to be able to see further from where we sit now into the future and understand what we need to do to adapt and change the business so we can remain relevant and continue to do the things that we've done successfully for all of these years. And a big part of that is the evolution of travel. So I say to innkeepers, and I have been saying this since we started to make these changes and announcements in October, and the fact is that if we still did business today the way that we did business 22 years ago, there wouldn't be a BedandBreakfast.com to be having this conversation with you today. And I think you'll have seen this, especially if you've been in the industry for a while, that there are some directories, that were around when I started all those years ago, that some of them are still around, but they're not as present as they have been in years past, because it takes a lot to remain relevant. It takes heavy investments, both financially, as a business, to continue to remain relevant, and even dealing with the search engines and making sure that we can continue to do this. So as a business, BedandBreakfast.com, looking ahead, looking at how we need to bring reservations to you, has changed and will continue to change. And the reason why you were invited to this webinar today is because your listing with us is coming up for renewal anywhere between the next 30 to 90 days. So when we first started to make the announcements back in October that we were going to a fully bookable site, there was a lot of confusion in that messaging, and things started to pop up on message boards, and we realized immediately that we needed to do a better job at communicating what these changes are and what it means to members so that they can digest it and have some time to process it. So we decided to host these webinars 30 to 90 days before your renewal so that we could share as much information with you as possible, and then give you an opportunity to have more of an educated conversation with your market managers in making the decision of what's best for you. So some of the things I want to share first is some of the changes that have happened over the last year, and how that affects you as a customer of BedandBreakfast.com. So some great things that have happened over the last year and a half is we've done a lot of what I call going back to our roots. When I first started all those years ago, BedandBreakfast.com and RezOvation were all under one roof here originally in Colorado, and then we moved the company to Austin, Texas. When I left the company back in 2012, there were some changes, and RezOvation was really working with a larger group over at HomeAway, as we got acquired by HomeAway about 7 years ago. And with that, we also went to having the product teams being separate. So over the last year and a half, we've gone back to our roots and really brought back the product teams of RezOvation and BedandBreakfast.com. And we have one product manager for the first time in 4 or 5 years that's overseeing the entire product and experience that our customers have. So a lot of the feedback that we've been getting is that since we've made this change, a lot of customers have been seeing that in a positive light because they're feeling those changes happening. So a couple of things. One is we also went to a market manager structure with BedandBreakfast.com, which means that now you have one point of contact. You certainly should have received an email from your market manager outlining their contact information, and you can think of them as your central point of contact. So that means if you have a question really on anything, they might not have all the answers for you, but they can certainly connect you with the person that can help you. And what's great about this is, as opposed to calling in and having just a general, call center where you have to talk to a different person, now you have that one point of contact. And this has been hugely beneficial for a lot of reasons. In addition to that, we also started a beta group. And the beta group was started with RezOvation and was originally headed up by a gentleman by the name of Oace, and has since been passed on to a gentleman by the name of Walker, who's internally been with BedandBreakfast.com for many years. And what's great about this is our whole goal is any products and services that we're going to be releasing, most recently the update to RezOvation, we want to get real feedback from innkeepers who are using it. And we want to be able to build better products for you that really answer to the needs that you have as a business and as a customer. So if being a part of the beta group is something that you're interested in, please feel free to send me an email, and I'm happy to get you included in part of that group. Another big initiative, certainly not just over the last year, but really since I've been back as the head of industry relations, is that we are involved in market more than we really have ever been in years past. In years past, we would try and attend as many state conferences, national conferences as possible. But really, over the last few years, we've attended, I can say confidently, I think every single not only state association meeting, regional association meeting, national association, but we're also hosting what we call lunch and learns or member appreciation lunches. I just did one this week in Kentucky when they needed to move their conference to November. We offered to come in and host an event to celebrate the innkeepers in the area. So if this is something that you think would be beneficial to host a meeting or a member appreciation lunch in your area, again, absolutely let me know, and I'd be more than happy to see how we can fit that into the schedule. It's a great opportunity for us to come into the market and not only celebrate you and everything that you do, but also to help educate on any upcoming changes and things like that. So with education continuing to be an important part of our foundation, but also an important part of our mission, not only to educate our customers and our innkeepers and the travelers on why they need to choose B&Bs, but also to educate our partners on how we can be better partners for our innkeepers. And a big part of that is working with our parent company, Expedia. So some of you may or may not know, I think a lot of folks know at this point, that Expedia actually acquired HomeAway, who was our parent company for the last 7 years or so. Expedia acquired HomeAway 2 years ago, this past December. And what's exciting about that from our perspective, I know that initially, and even still for some properties, there's an apprehension and a concern that Expedia is such a larger company, and what does that mean about working with smaller inns? And I challenged an innkeeper in Kentucky this week to really think about this differently and to change the way that we're thinking about BedandBreakfast.com and the value that we're bringing to our members. A big part of the value that we bring is not only, of course, just in reservations, but in the fact that we have the opportunity to be a real advocate for all of you and for the industry when working with larger partners like Expedia. So one of the great examples of that is the BedandBreakfast.com team going to the Expedia offices, working with the Expedia market managers, and really educating them on who we are as an industry and why innkeepers are different than, say, a larger hotel operator that has a large staff and folks like revenue managers and things like that. And whenever we're working with Expedia or any of our other larger partners like HomeAway or VRBO, our message always is, let us, BedandBreakfast.com, help you, in this case, Expedia, help the innkeepers. And we've done a lot of that. The most obvious examples that I can give is back in 2006, when we initially started connecting to Expedia, back then, for those of you who were members back then, you probably remember, it felt like, the larger partners didn't really understand our industry. There were things like inventory requirements, where even just to sell your rooms on these sites, you had to give a certain amount of inventory. You didn't get any guest contact information at that time. Very high commissions, 30% is what we started at. And it certainly wasn't favorable when you compare it to where we are now, but it was what we had to work with, and it was where we started. So over the years, and I think some key things to highlight, not, only due in part to the work that we've done specifically, but some of the changes that we've seen are keys to participate now in selling your rooms on BedandBreakfast.com, Expedia, and our partners is the two things that they care about now. One of them is inventory parity. And the reason why I want to bring that up is because there's been confusion around that. And inventory parity means that if you are selling a room, say on booking.com or another partner, Airbnb, if you sell a room on those sites and you want to sell your rooms on BedandBreakfast.com, Expedia, and HomeAway, you need to give us the same room that you would give them. That's inventory parity. I share this because there's been some confusion on, well, if I have a room open on my booking engine, does that mean I need to give it to you? And the answer is no. You give the rooms that you are comfortable selling. Now, certainly there are benefits to giving more inventory. You can have more placement, things like that, and we encourage it. But remember that you are in control more today than you ever have been. The second thing that's important when you're selling your rooms online is rate parity. And rate parity means that you're giving the same room, inventory parity, at the same rate that you're giving anywhere else. So I bring this up because we've heard from some properties that say, well, can I raise my rates on the third party so I can cover my commission? And the answer is no, you cannot. Your software might have the ability for you to do that, but it is not something you want to do, because not having the same rate on all these channels will keep you from being able to sell on them, because they will remove you if you don't have the same rate. I think it's important to point out that when you sell your rooms through BedandBreakfast.com, and we feed them out to Expedia, HomeAway, VRBO, and all of the other families of sites, Hotels.com, Travelocity, Trivago, you will receive the guest's name, of course, the real guest email address, not an email address that's been masked. It's going to be their actual contact information and their phone number. And the reason why this is important is because sometimes when you connect to a partner directly, you're treated just as another lodging partner. So you might not be getting that contact information. They might be asking you to log into their dashboard so you can communicate to the guest through their platform. And the reason why we ask for this contact information for our members is because we understand the importance of you establishing a direct relationship with that guest, not just for remarketing and for going back and being able to sell your packages, say, or your add-ons that you aren't able to sell through these third-party sites, but also so you can contact them and find out dietary restrictions. So important, right? When they're actually going to be arriving, that they're not going to be bringing pets if you don't accept pets, that they really aren't going to be bringing children if you don't accept children, and things like that. So that's something that we will continue to advocate for on behalf of B&Bs, to make sure that you get the information that you need, not only to get the reservation, but to be able to have the best first experience for that guest coming to your property. In addition to that, of course, commissions are much lower than they've been since we initially connected to them. Properties who are just joining the program to sell your rooms on our site, commission starts at 15% for the first year, and that's across all channels, and goes up to 18% after the first year. What's important about that is that also includes the credit card fees, because we process the credit card for you. We take payment from the guests when they make the reservation, and then we pay that out to you minus the commission at check-in. In the spirit of the mission that I initially talked about in getting that reservation for you the easiest way possible, we made some significant changes over the last year, especially. And that historically, when you wanted to sell your rooms through BedandBreakfast.com, you wanted to seamlessly connect to us, which meant that if you got a booking on your website, on your booking engine, or you got one on Expedia, that it would update in your property management software. Years ago, you could only do that through RezOvation and Reservations. Now, over the last year plus, we've made significant strides at connecting to other property management softwares. So as of today, we not only, of course, connect to RezOvation and Reservations, we also connect to Think Reservations. We also connect to something called My Allocator, which if you go onto the My Allocator site, you can see all of the different property management softwares that they connect with. To in the industry that we work with through My Allocator are ResNexus and Odysseus. And this is just the beginning of that connectivity. So we will be expanding this. If there's a software that you work with that we don't currently connect to, let me know. I'm happy to get that on our list of priorities of who we're going to connect with. So just to give you a sense of 2017 and the revenue that we brought to members through instant bookings that happen on our site and partner sites. In 2017, it was over $74 million in bookings that was paid to innkeepers. We certainly, our goal is to see that continue to increase over the years. And the reason why I share this is because I think a lot of times innkeepers just look at, well, what are the reservations that BedandBreakfast.com is bringing me versus Expedia? And in that changing your thinking, it's not just BedandBreakfast.com, it's BedandBreakfast.com and all of our partners that are delivering the reservation. So really important to look at that full spectrum and understand it. It's also important as we continue to move on to understand how B&Bs are gaining travelers that may not have thought about staying in a B&B previously. So in August of 2017, we made a significant change to our distribution. And finally, after all these years, we are able to give exposure to our BedandBreakfast.com members on the HomeAway family of sites. And the reason why this is important, and I want you to think about this, not only just with BedandBreakfast.com and HomeAway and Expedia, but think of all of the channels that you list on, because everybody brings you a different type of traveler. And BedandBreakfast.com travelers, we know, stay an average of 2 nights, slightly older in age. When you look at the HomeAway VRBO travelers, they're staying longer. They appeal to a slightly younger demographic, and they have a different type of traveler who's been going to their sites, the groups and families, things like that. So when we had the opportunity to start selling inns and B&Bs on the HomeAway sites, it was really exciting because it was the first time it's been done. And the reason why we waited to be able to do this, and the reason why it took so many years, is that the feedback that we got from B&Bs and inns that had listed on short-term rental sites previously was that they were concerned they weren't being sold as professional B&Bs, that they were just put into a group of anyone who could check a checkbox and say that they were a bed and breakfast. There also wasn't what we call multi-unit listings, which means that you had to try and sell your entire property in one listing. So it was really confusing for the traveler and frustrating for the innkeeper. Now, with this feed that started happening in August, when you're selling your rooms on BedandBreakfast.com, they'll now automatically be fed into HomeAway and VRBO and all of their sites, US branded sites, as multi-unit listings. So the listing looks just like on BedandBreakfast.com, where you have your primary listing. Then each room that you're selling shows individually. So it's really clear to the guest what they're booking. They're booking this room at this rate. When you get fed over to HomeAway and VRBO through us, you also get the BedandBreakfast.com logo on your listing. So it shows that you are a professional bed and breakfast. and also, of course, the seamless integration. One other thing that we did when we started this program as well is we added the words bed and breakfast to your name of your inn. So again, it's very clear for the traveler to understand that, yes, I might be on HomeAway or VRBO, but I am choosing a bed and breakfast. For members of our Diamond Collection, you also will now show on HomeAway's luxury rental site, which is fantastic. That launched early 2017. And you're having exposure to travelers who are looking specifically for that luxury experience. When you have a room that's booked on HomeAway or VRBO, it's the same commission as what you're paying on BedandBreakfast.com. So if you're starting out, that's at that 15% that includes the credit card fee. Just to give you an idea of the first 6 months that we launched this, we had over 3,000 B&B room nights booked, over $500,000 in revenue paid to B&Bs who had their properties booked on HomeAway and VRBO. And the reason why I share this is because for me, this is money that might have otherwise gone to a vacation rental. And now that we have a place on the site where travelers, vacation rental travelers, are seeing B&Bs, it's been quite successful in being able to get them to choose bed and breakfast. This is certainly just the beginning of this program. And as I mentioned, this is on US English-speaking sites. The plan is over the next several months to release this on HomeAway international sites as well, to start to bring you some international travelers. If you are wondering if you have gone onto HomeAway or you've looked for your listing, if you're selling rooms through us and you haven't seen it, there are some content requirements. So you have to have a minimum of 6 photos, and your property description needs to be at least 400 characters. Need to have at least 1 room and 1 bathroom listed, et cetera, et cetera. So these are some reasons why you might not be showing. If you aren't seeing yourself, let us know. We're happy to go in and see if we can help you with some of that content as well. And as I mentioned, I will be sending this presentation to you out after, so you can go in and you can read some of these FAQs. So as we continue to move forward as an industry, having data and understanding where we're headed and when we're making some of these decisions is extremely crucial. And since the recession, BedandBreakfast.com has done quarterly surveys, sending it out to the travelers who come to BedandBreakfast.com, as well as the innkeepers who list on our site. And it's been great to have this data. It's a little bit skewed though, because it's travelers who, understand the B&B experience, and we really needed to reach out beyond that. So the beginning of last year, 2017, I reached out to HomeAway and Focusrite and discovered that they had an ongoing relationship where Focusrite was doing industry studies for the vacation rental industry and partnering with HomeAway. So BedandBreakfast.com is in a really unique position, not only to bring you data from the vacation rental side of the industry, also getting data from the Expedia side of it and understanding the hotel industry, but we were really lacking on the data that we had on our industry. So I started a program reaching out to partners in the industry. AIHP and HomeAway both stepped up and helped us fund the first full bed and breakfast industry study. Pi had done one for several years. I think the last one that they put out was back in 2012, I want to say. And it was great data for what we had at the time, having, things like, annual ADRs and occupancy and things like that. But this industry report is really taking it a step further. It's not only diving into market research, so understanding market sizing and seeing how our industry is growing, but I think the most important and relevant part of this is reaching out also to the travelers who haven't chosen B&Bs in the past and allowing us to better market ourselves as an industry, to understand why those travelers aren't choosing B&Bs and what we need to do to continue to move forward as an industry. Certainly focusing on the 3 main demographics right now who are choosing B&B travel, not only the millennials, but of course, my forgotten generation, I call Gen X, and baby boomers as well. So it's important for you to understand, and I know some properties have said, well, why would I continue on BedandBreakfast.com if I don't have my, listing, the standard listing that I've always had? And a big part of it is that, BedandBreakfast.com brings a pretty specific traveler to the properties who are listing on our site. We really cater to the B&B enthusiast. So this is a B&B goer who has stayed. 75% of travelers who come to BedandBreakfast.com have stayed at a B&B in the last year. And 95% of the travelers who come because of you and connecting with you and having that true professional B&B experience. So it's important when you're looking at your whole marketing portfolio to understand what travelers are coming to you from what source. So we're going to talk a little bit about what we're doing to help promote the B&B experience, because it's important, of course, for the industry and how we're moving forward. And promoting the B&B experience, what I can say is that certainly it has become much more challenging over the last several years, not only with the influx of short-term rentals and making sure that guests understand when they're booking a professional B&B experience, but this photo I took when I was up in California a few weeks ago for the Cabby conference. And I saw this van parked in a parking lot. And of course, I was interested by just looking at the back of it saying this RV sleeps 4. Okay, interesting. And then don't flip out, but there's a kitchen in here. So much to my surprise, when I turned the corner, I saw this on the side of this caravan. This RV is your personal bed and breakfast. So, as you can imagine, as someone as passionate as I am and as long as I've been in the B&B industry, I about fell over when I saw this, because I thought, we're dealing with all of these other types of competition and now we have to compete with the Dodge Caravan. This is ridiculous. But it's things like this that get me fired up and get our marketing team fired up and saying, what do we need to do to continue to push our part of the lodging industry forward? And a big part of our initiative and what you get to benefit in as a member and being a part of BedandBreakfast.com is all of the things that we're doing to help elevate our category of B&Bs. I have Anderson Cooper on here because he is notably not a lover of B&Bs. I just learned at a conference, Hoda as well is not a fan of B&Bs. So when we think about what we need to do as a business and what we need to do to continue to repopularize staying at B&Bs, there's several things that we're doing to change that unclear or potential negative brand identity that we have as an industry. One of the first things that we've been working on over the last year plus is putting out articles to travelers and including our members and our B&Bs. Not just talking about the destinations, but talking about the inns within these destinations. So it's important for you to understand that, having something like this and getting that additional distribution is just an added value and an added benefit. Not only are we putting these together, but we also partnered back with Marty Main over the last year. And Marty is an incredible woman that I had the honor of working with really since the beginning of my career in the industry. And she is equally, if not more passionate about the industry than anyone that I've really met. She works with us on our webinars, which I will send out to all of you a link to where those recorded webinars are. We just did a great one on our upcoming B&B breakfast contest. She also is helping to write articles and get us more exposure and tell your stories. So I'm waiting for the updated impressions for 2017. But what we saw in 2016 was over 19 million media impressions. And the reason why that's important is because that's how many times we got the words bed and breakfast in front of travelers' eyes. As a member and as a partner of BedandBreakfast.com, if you want to be included in some upcoming articles, let us know. We send out media alerts. If you haven't received them, it may be because you opted out of one of our emails in the past, and we can certainly get you opted back in. We're also working with state chambers and destination marketing organizations. This is an example of what we did with the state of Vermont last winter. And we heard a lot of feedback from innkeepers that, they're paying taxes into their local governments, and the state does a lot to bring tourists to their states, but not specifically to the B&Bs. So this is our effort to be able to get some of those, tax dollars working for you, bringing travelers directly to your B&Bs. We also started, of course, International B&B Month, which is now this October 2018 will be the third annual. And what's great about that is that it's just another way to get more travelers looking at B&Bs and thinking about it. I think one of our most significant ways of doing that and helping members is our broadening and continued reach and partnership with the Wheel of Fortune. And we've worked with them since, I think it was 2008 was our first B&B week. Over 28 million viewers watch the Wheel of Fortune every week. So if you have a video of your property and you are listed on BedandBreakfast.com, I would love to get you included and considered to be featured on the show. This TripAdvisor review is from a guest from Lebanon, Tennessee, that saw our B&B in Seattle and said, oh, this is fantastic. I want to go and stay at this B&B simply because they saw them featured on the Wheel of Fortune, which is huge. To have that kind of a reach and that kind of exposure is pretty significant to be able to provide that out for members. I had the opportunity to go and actually see a taping of the show. I went out, it was probably about a month and a half ago, and got to meet the crew. And what was fascinating to me was not only how excited they were about B&Bs and working with BedandBreakfast.com, but how much they knew and remembered about all the years that we've worked with them. Example, the announcer, the gentleman who makes the prize announcements on the show, when I met him, he's like, oh, BedandBreakfast.com, I love when we feature B&Bs. And he verbatim said our script that we use on the show. And the promotions company that we work with was blown away. He's like, I can't believe that he remembered the script of BedandBreakfast.com. And that just shows the impact that we've had through the partnership of working with Wheel of Fortune and everybody that's involved. So again, just a great example of some of the things that we're doing. So quick update for those of you who are reservation users or who are wondering, maybe have been in the past. We're putting significant efforts into enhancing and growing RezOvation as a software for the industry. And a big part of doing that was taking all of those dev resources that we combined, putting them together to get RezOvation off of Silverlight, which is what it was built on initially as a cloud-based software, and getting it onto what's called HTML5. What's great about that is the new RezOvation web release is a much more friendly, user-friendly design, not relying on that Silverlight. We also, in January 1st of this year, retired our desktop version of the site. So everyone who's using RezOvation is now using it as a cloud-based software. So again, that allows us to focus as a development team to make sure that we can put all of our resources into one product and to give you a better product to work with. Over 2 million travelers used property booking engines that use RezOvation and over 4 million room nights booked. And for those of you who are RezOvation customers and are switching over to the BedandBreakfast.com online reservations program, or if you're currently using both products, you can now get RezOvation web software for free. And this is really something that I never envisioned would be a possibility as a business, that we would be able to give away free software to our customers that are using our products and services, but now it's a reality. So certainly a great way for you to be able to save some money as you go into 2018. So a little bit more about the changes that are happening with BedandBreakfast.com and how you're going to continue to work with us moving forward as members. So for years, you've had what's called a subscription, and that's what properties have when they work with a traditional directory, where you pay for the year, and if you get reservations or not get reservations, doesn't matter, you've paid for the year up front, and that's how it's worked. moving forward after your renewal date, you'll become part of what's called the instant booking membership. And what that means is that you will only pay a commission when you get a reservation through BedandBreakfast.com. And again, that's at that 15% for the first year. That includes the credit card fees. So in looking at that, no annual fees, no more subscription fees that you'll be paying. And again, that 15% commission. There is no contract, so you're not tied into an annual contract any longer. If you set this up and you find that it's not working for you, you can cancel at any time without penalty. So it's much more flexible for you to work and see what works best for you. I think especially for seasonal properties, there was a lot of, when I first started all those years ago, I worked in New England, a lot of seasonal properties up there that had a hard time having an annual subscription because there were times of the year where they were closed or not taking reservations. So now only paying when you get the reservations is how the new program works. Getting signed up, certainly you'll be hearing from your market manager. They're going to be reaching out to you and setting up a phone call with you so they can go through the specifics with you and making sure that you're maximizing what's best for your area. If you are a Diamond Collection member, I know we have a couple on this call. There aren't changes to the Diamond Collection program. The Diamond Collection program is still intact. One of the big changes is that we stopped accepting new Diamond Collection members. Part of that was in response to feedback from customers that in some areas there were too many Diamond Collection members and it was getting saturated. So we made that decision. Anybody who is an existing Diamond Collection will continue with your branding that you've had on your listing, as well as the city and state pages. So I put in a couple of FAQs here for you. Also going to include an FAQ document that we put together after we made the changes as well, which should be helpful. Some other changes that have happened, and these are pretty important, is around the gift card program. So we got feedback from members for years that the gift card program had changed from what we initially started as a way to bring more new customers to your property. And by getting them a BedandBreakfast.com gift card, they would then discover your property and come and stay with you. Well, over the years, the feedback that we got was that it turned into a discount card. We were selling in places like Costco and we were running discounts on our site. And a lot of properties were not happy with that. They just weren't excited about it. And so we made the decision in September of 2017 to no longer sell BedandBreakfast.com gift cards. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is two things. We just finished, for all the properties who've been accepting gift cards in 2017, we just finished the rebate program. At the end of January, we tallied the rebates for properties who accepted gift cards in 2017. Those payments will be going out over the next couple weeks. So you'll be getting an email if you participated in that program and you have a rebate coming back to you. Going forward, as of January 1st, any guest that redeems a gift card with you directly, you will pay no commission on that. And that's huge. That means if a guest shows up at your property with a $100 gift card, you redeem it, you will get paid $100 from BedandBreakfast.com. Also important to point out that guests can also redeem their gift cards. So for all those gift cards that are still out in circulation, they can redeem them on our website. If they book with you through BedandBreakfast.com, and use a gift card, you'll only pay the commission for the reservation, and of course, zero commission on the gift card, as it has been. So a little bit about tracking performance, and then I'm going to talk about some more things that are happening in 2018. When you're making changes to your marketing program, it's important for you to understand where travelers are finding you. You know, Google has said for years that, you know, travelers go to over 22 different sites before they make a buying decision. And that's a lot of sites. So it's important for you to know what sites travelers are finding you on. Fuel Marketing came out last November and said that's gone down to 4 sites before they make a buying decision. So regardless of if it's 22 sites or if it's 4 sites, you need to be on the sites where travelers are looking before they make a booking. So Make sure that you have your Google Analytics set up. Make sure that you're tracking this so that you're able at the end of the year to understand what the 20% of sites are that you should be focused on that are bringing you the 80% of your results. Back to that Pareto's principle. We know travelers on BedandBreakfast.com, you know, the younger demographic, when you look at this chart here, ages 25 to 34, only 4% of those travelers want to speak to the innkeeper only and book with you over the phone. Of course, it's a little higher as you get into the older demographics. But what's important here is that that medium blue, the 59% that want to book online only, the younger demographics. And then the darker navy blue, speak with the innkeeper and then book online. The largest piece of any of those pies is they want to have online booking, and that's how they want to make their reservation. And that's a big reason why we're making this switch, so we can continue to be relevant and continue to bring you those reservations. This is a company called CallRail. We're not affiliated with them in any way, but I always think about what would I use if I still was at the inn? And I would love to know the performance of the calls that were coming into my inn and what channels they were coming from. So this is a way that you can track that. There's no contract. There are some properties that I've worked with recently that do use this and found it valuable, and that's why I put it in. So as we look into 2018 in the second, almost halfway through the second month of the year, I've used this several times in the office, and I've used this when I'm talking about our instant booking program and making the changes that we're making. I grew up in New England, and when I was in college, there was a billboard in Boston when they started the Big Dig, and it said Rome wasn't built in a day, and if it was, we would have hired their contractors. And I couldn't help but think of this as we made these changes at BedandBreakfast.com, and that this is the beginning. This is the beginning of our new instant booking program. And as a BedandBreakfast.com member and as an innkeeper and as a customer, you're going to see significant changes as we continue to grow and move this program. So understand that some of the things that we're launching with now and some of the tools that you're using, they're only going to get better. And some examples that I can give you just from when we launched in October to now is from the feedback of innkeepers who were using it. A couple of pain points that they brought up to us was cancellation policies. When you sell your room through our site, previously, you would have to choose from a set cancellation policy that most closely matched what you offered at your inn. And a lot of innkeepers said, I don't like this. I want to be able to say, if you book on a third party, then I want to set it up so it's non-refundable. So that is something that we are in the process of building. It should be released to all members to be able to set that up over the next several weeks, which is a huge win. I think of myself at the inn, and if I was still running it, I would love to have this option because I would love the peace of mind of knowing if a guest booked through a third party and they canceled, I'm still going to get paid no matter what. So that's something that's coming thanks to the great feedback of our members. Second thing is our payment timeline was about 4 to 5 days after check-in is when we were able to pay properties. Now, reduced payment timeline by 50%. We're now paying within 48 hours of check-in. Sometimes it's shorter than that. It depends on your bank, but expect to continue to see a lot of improvements on that. The reason why I mention that pay time frame is I've gotten a lot of feedback from properties who say, well, I like to be able to charge a deposit when the guest books, and I need that cash flow. So just to give you an idea, for the guests who are booking on our site, 65% of the reservations that happen on BedandBreakfast.com happen between 0 and 30 days of check-in. So I put that in there because when you're thinking of your cash flow and you're thinking about being paid at check-in, understand that the reservations, the majority of the reservations that you're getting from us are within 0 to 30 days of check-in. So it's a much shorter window of when you're going to get paid, and that's why I wanted to share that with you. Also, improvements to the instant booking program, continuing to get feedback from you. So anything that you want to share with us that's going to help you work with the program, please do, because we have a great development team and a great group of folks who want to continue to make these improvements for you that matter the most. One of the things that I'm most excited about is something that I just got in the last week, and that's why we're running these webinars as close to your renewal date as possible, because things are changing so quickly. We now have enhanced reporting and enhanced visibility into what's going to help you get more reservations when you're listing through BedandBreakfast.com. This is brand new data that I just received over the last couple days, and understanding the reservation value. So basically the top properties, so the top performing properties on BedandBreakfast.com, the properties that get the most amount of reservations from us, actually charge 28% more per room night than the bottom performing properties, which I think is really interesting. So top 10% have an average daily rate of $242. And I put this in here because I think it's really important for properties to understand, you know, am I priced accordingly? Can I raise my rates a little bit? And again, not just raising them on our site, but raising them on your booking engine as well. Not being afraid to look at raising your rates overall. And of course, that will help in the end in covering, you know, your expenses as you move forward with your marketing choices. Also, understanding how the content that you have on our site is going to increase the amount of bookings that you're getting. So when we looked at our data, we discovered that our top performing properties have 3 times more reviews and a 14% higher rating than the lower performing properties. So this is something that I'm actively working on with the marketing team right now, is to share some of this information with properties. When we launched our reviews program all those years ago, we did a lot of marketing efforts and education around reviews and why they're important on BedandBreakfast.com. Certainly they're important to get them on your TripAdvisor listing and other listings. But here is just a great example of you know, the top performing properties who are getting the most amount of bookings. We can directly correlate that with the number of reviews they have and the average review score. So expect to see more information. Also on amenities, what we looked at, 2 amenities I'm just sharing here with you: fireplaces. We found that properties with fireplaces made $2,000 more per year in bookings. And not only that, I think what's even more interesting is properties not only who had fireplaces, but who also included it consistently in their marketing messages on their BedandBreakfast.com listings. They saw a higher increase than properties who just said, you know, in one place that they had a fireplace. So you can expect in your relationship with us, as we continue to move forward and working with your market managers, having them being able to share this kind of information and to really be able to hone in and maximize on what you can do. In addition to that, looking at photos on your listing, top performing properties have 30% more photos. So we can now directly correlate and say, okay, if you have 18 or more photos, you have a higher likelihood of being able to go in and increase and improve your listing with us. Some additional improvements for Reservation: being able to accommodate group bookings through Reservation Web. This is an enhancement that has just recently been released, and one of many that will be coming. The biggest one, and I think the most long anticipated one for your Rezo customers, is an enhanced and completely updated and redesigned booking engine. That is going to be our #1 project for Reservation as we move forward into 2018. So I received some questions that I'm going to go through now and answer specifically. So if you've got some questions that you haven't submitted yet and you want to ask specifically, please do that now, and I'm happy to go in and answer those as we go along. So a couple of the questions. One of them was around commissions, and the question of, is the commission rate guaranteed for 2 years, 3 years, 5 years? So the answer to that is, when you sign up for the instant booking program, your first year is guaranteed at 15%, which includes the credit card fee. And then after 1 year, for that second year, it's scheduled to go up to 18%, which includes the credit card fees. So that's what it is set today. So when you sign the contract, that's what you're agreeing to. What I would say is that what I anticipate and what we're working on as a business is that as this continues to evolve, I imagine that there will be different choices of how you're working with us. And most likely, of course, I don't have the details now, I'm sure there will be different commission structures and different ways that you can accept reservations, sometime over the next year. So what I would recommend is, understanding, of course, what the contract is now, but also understanding that there's going to be continued improvements as we move forward through this program. Another question was, would Think Reservations and My Allocator be charging a commission too? What I would say to that is I would contact whoever you're using as a property management software to find out if they charge an additional commission for partner reservations. I know that some certainly do. Some will charge, I know I've heard of some charging 3% for partner reservations that come through their channels. But the best thing to do is to check with whoever you're working with specifically and see if your property management software charges an additional fee. Another question, if we choose to go with BedandBreakfast.com, will we be tied into going to Expedia too? Great question. So you can sign up for instant booking on BedandBreakfast.com only and not choose to have your rooms fed over to the other partner sites. The base is to list with BedandBreakfast.com. So again, think of what works best for your property and what you're most comfortable in doing. And that's a great conversation to have directly with your market manager when you're talking about your renewal and being able to make a choice on what's best for your area and best for your property. So I think we are pretty much right on time for our 1 hour, and I don't have any other questions that have come in. Certainly, this is my direct contact information that you're seeing here. This is my direct line at the office and also my cell phone. So I call that the bat line. If you if you call me on a Saturday, I might not call you back until Sunday, but always feel free to text me or call me. And even if it's not just about BedandBreakfast.com, I'm happy to help you however I can. I am your resource in the industry, and that's why I do what I do, because I love it and I care tremendously, not only about all of you, but about the growth of the industry. So thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. I hope you learned a little bit about the direction that we're headed in, and certainly anything else we can help with, please let me know. Have a great rest of your afternoon, and I look forward to hopefully seeing you all again real soon on the road, and have a great day.